So I'm going to call this meeting to order. I can see that all commissioners are present. I don't think we need a roll call, so it's official, everybody's here. Minutes were sent via electronic mail, the August 18th board meeting, and I need a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
We'll call those approved. Cynthia, I'm going to recognize you for opening remarks.
Sure. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your willingness to come down here. I don't know whose bright idea it was, actually it was Joe's, to have a tour of seeing some of our facilities. And obviously we don't have the meeting rooms here that we have there, but I really appreciate you all coming. I think it was a great suggestion, and I think this will be very helpful. Today's presentation really is, the President's Report piece, is the third presentation that relates to our cost savings and efficiency efforts. And there will be a presentation on the front end in a few minutes, but I think the tour will really reveal to you what progress we've made in that regard. So, and a couple more comments before we move into official action. In your folders, you have an interim report on the tree panel implementation and a customer guide. We will have an annual report for you probably at the January board meeting. It will be comprehensive. That will be 1 year of implementation of the tree panel recommendations. But we just wanted you to have a feel of what has been accomplished so far in case you're out in the community and people ask questions about what's been done. So you have that in your folders today. Okay?
Okay. Well, our official action today is Resolution 1248, which expresses the intent of the board on second and final reading to fund the first 10 years of the Century 2 electric and water programs for the purpose of addressing the aging infrastructure of the electric and water distribution systems through a combination of immediate and future rate increases and debt issues, and adopting the initial 3-year rate increases for the electric and water divisions as set forth in the 10-year funding plans for the electric and water Century 2 program. Back to you.
Commissioners, I'm going to recognize Mark Walker, but as I do so, I will share with you that this is going to be very, very brief. And for our media that's here today, he hasn't been here at all of our other meetings, but we've been talking about this subject for 3 years, if you go back and think about it, and we have talked about it every single board meeting this year. So today's presentation will be limited to a single slide, second reading to remind you of the key components of it. I want to make sure everybody here is reminded, though, that this has been considered in depth at previous meetings.
Commissioners, I'm just going to take a few moments and give you an overview of Resolution 1248 and also the proposed electric and water rate increases, which are an integral part of the resolution. And as you well know, Resolution 1248 is about funding the Century 2 electric and water programs. And it addresses it in several ways. And first of all, the resolution provides or reflects the board's express endorsement of not only the infrastructure programs themselves, but also of the long-term funding plans for the programs. And as you know, the 10-year funding plan is actually incorporated in and made part of the resolution by an exhibit. So that's a very important part of the resolution, the endorsement of the infrastructure programs and the funding plans as well. And then probably foremost, the resolution adopts the initial 3 electric and water rate increases that are set forth in the long-term funding plans. The electric rate increases as proposed would be effective October 1st of this year, 2011, October 1st, 2012, and October 1st of 2013. And each of the proposed electric rate increases would add $1 to every residential electric customer's monthly bill. And that increase is in the form of an increase in the monthly customer charge for all 3 rate increases. So for a residential electric customer whose monthly bill is based on 1,000 kilowatt hours, their monthly bill is about $90 per month. It'll increase basically $1 every year until by October of 2013, it would be $93 per month. And that's electric. Water, very similar. All 3 of the proposed water rate increases, which, by the way, would be effective starting January 1st of 2012 and then January 2013, January 2014. But just like electric, all of the proposed water rate increases will also add $1 to every residential water customer's monthly bill. And also that will be in the form of an increase in the monthly customer charge as well. So for the average residential water customer whose monthly bill is currently $16.45 per month, it will also increase $1 each year until by January of 2014 it would be $19.45 per month. And though we haven't gone into a lot of detail about commercial and industrial customers, I will say that obviously they are impacted by these rate increases as well. But unlike residential, where it's a fixed amount, the dollar increase, theirs will vary depending upon their level of monthly power and water usage. And then finally, Commissioners, the very last bullet on this chart is also very important, that through Resolution 1248, there's provisions in there that basically the board is declaring its intent to adopt future rate increases and bond issues for both the electric and water systems to ensure that the Century 2 programs remain fully funded. And that is a key part as well. And basically, that's all I've had. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mark, let me just ask, not to put you on the spot, but the TVA has announced an increase this fall in the basic rate, but a decrease in fuel cost rates. Just refresh us if you know, how often are they changing the fuel costs?
Fuel cost adjustment changes monthly, actually. And the numbers that I mentioned a few moments ago about the monthly electric bill, that excludes the TVA FCA. If we brought that back in, that's probably adding $5 or $6 to what I mentioned right now. Over time, that's going to go up, it's going to go down. We stripped that out when we talked about the numbers on the monthly bills for electric customers. But it changes every month.
What would be if I was a dry cleaner, what typically would my increase be?
For the commercial customers, for electric, it depends upon what your load is going to be. For a dry cleaner, I'm trying to remember, Commissioner, what that type of load is, but it's probably an increase of, say, $50 on their monthly bill for that load, I would think, for a dry cleaner. And that's electric, and water is going to be much less. I do remember this, for our largest electric customer, the increase, and that's a monthly bill of over $1 million. Their increase would be in the range of about $4,000 on their monthly bill for these 3 electric rate increases, each one about $4,000. For water, the largest water customer we have, it's probably around $300 on average increase in the monthly bill. But I can check and be more specific.
It sounds like it's, on a percentage of it, sounds pretty close.
So from a percentage perspective, whatever your bill is for electric, it's going to be about a 1% increase in your monthly bill. For water, about a 5 to 6% increase. Yes,
Mark, isn't it, I think it's correct that except for wastewater, even taking into account these increases and TVA's increases, we're about even with the rate of inflation.
it's very, very close. That's correct. Yes, wastewater would take us over that when you combined everything together.
Yeah.
That's correct.
But everything else, that's pretty darn good.
Any other questions?
I move we approve Resolution 1248 on second reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Public comment. Mr. Coley, can you call the roll?
Commissioner Anderson.
Aye.
Commissioner Cannell.
Aye.
Commissioner Jones.
Aye.
Commissioner Robinson.
Aye.
Commissioner Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Resolution 1248 is passed on second reading.
Thank you. Now we'll move into our President's report.
Yes, I'd like to recognize Vice President Dennis Upton. He is going to share with you the improvements that have been made to our supply chain and our electric storeroom area. After Dennis's presentation, then we'll transition into the tour.
Thank you, Ms. Roche. Commissioners, as Ms. Roche indicated, this is the third of presentations on cost management initiatives here at KDV, and What you're going to hear this afternoon is a project that's been going on for about 3 years, changes and improvements that we've been making to our electric warehouse. This is a high-level overview of sort of our electric storeroom supply chain process. Here you can see the corner. This truck that comes in, brings supplies. We get about 2,000 deliveries of materials on an annual basis. We have multiple vendors who bring electric material supplies to our warehouse. And the warehouse is 7,000 square feet of space. About $10 million worth of inventory flow through there every year. We got 1,400, really over 1,400 electric material stock items, so that's quite a bit to keep up with. Our main job is to make sure that these trucks, these bucket trucks, stay equipped and supplied with materials on a daily basis so they can get out into the field, provide electric service. Of course, electric reliability is their main goal, and our goal is to make sure that they achieve their goal and making sure they have what they need when they need it. And just a little comment here, in our business, inventory management, the 101 says that you always provide your customers what they need and when they need it. And there's kind of a caveat to that. You provide your customers what they need when they need it, but you try to do so by maintaining minimum inventory levels, because that's how you manage your costs. And you also do so in such a way where you don't run out of materials, because the worst thing that can happen to us is for one of these trucks to be ready to roll because they have a work order and we don't have access to the materials they need. That is something that we definitely try to avoid. Up here on the left part of the slide, you see this sort of electrical wave, but that's part of the improvements that we'll talk about later on this afternoon, and we're kind of very proud of our electronic material requisition program. Commissioners, basically, I can sum up the improvements that we've made since 2008 in the electric storeroom in 3 areas. We've improved technology, we've made better use of our warehouse layout and design, and we've developed structured work processes. Whenever you have a $10 million business like that, you better make sure that you kind of concentrate, focus on your technology, making technology work for you rather than the other way around, making sure your warehouse design, the layout, that works to your advantage as well, and to make sure that your employees know what the processes are, that they're trained, updated, and know what to do and how to do it, and when to carry out those important functions. Here we'll get into the very first of our automated process for our improvements. One of the things we did back in 2008 was take advantage of Derwin Hagan and his group provided some very powerful software technology for us. As a matter of fact, our inventory management system is one of the best around. But one of the things that concerned us back in 2008 in trying to use this was we lacked the confidence to really sort of fully engage it because it was such a powerful tool. Plus, we had employees who were long-term employees who were accustomed to, just look at that top picture, they would go around and look at bins, look at the items on the shelf, and they had that job knowledge, sort of a second intuition, and they would know kind of what to order. These long-term employees were kind of very reluctant to turn over the ordering process to replenish our material supply to a computer. But what we did, we sat down with some of Derwin's folks, some IT folks, some folks from overhead construction, and our storeroom employees, and we worked through this. It took us several months, but we developed a process whereby all of our material order system is done. What we did basically was load 2 years of historical data into the inventory management system. Every storm, every week, whatever materials were not only received, but consumed out of the warehouse, all that was fed into the computer. Once that data was loaded in there, then we ran some tests, and we found out that the computer did a much, much better job than any of us ever could in the order materials. It set up the strategic replenish points. It developed a safety stock. It developed purchase orders whenever it was time to order materials. And it even told us when the delivery date, when the materials would arrive. So it did a heck of a lot of work for us, and again, turned out to be the very powerful and very useful tool that we thought that it would. The result was that we eliminated a lot of manual tasks, and at the same time, we improved our inventory accuracy. Now, after we accomplished automating our material ordering system, The next step we took on was, and this is sort of going outside the purview or scope of the lecture storeroom, we wanted to automate our material requisition system. And let me kind of give you kind of a profile of what life was like back there in the storeroom back in 2008. I mentioned in the earlier slide that we have about 25 construction crews that show up on a daily basis, 2 shifts now, but there's 25 crews that show up every day, and they're looking for materials. The old practice was, back in 2008, someone would come in with a single sheet of paper, and they would say, I need splices, I need fuses, I need cross arms, I need it, and I need it right now. And that would happen at 7 o'clock in the morning. We'd have our lecture storeroom staff running like crazy to fill those orders. That was not the most efficient way to get our business done. So what we did, again, was establish a team using people from information technology, our lecture storeroom personnel, and employees from overhead construction. And we took that paper material requisition form, put it on a computer, gave the employees a laptop computer so they could make orders directly themselves. And now, I know that today is not the best weather day, but the crews that came in at 7 o'clock this morning and are still out in the field, before they finish up at 3 p.m., if they have materials that they need to finish the job tomorrow, all they have to do is enter those materials in the computer, save it, and then when they come in the truck base, there's a wireless router that's located in our roof ceiling of our building, and that wireless router would pick up the material order from that laptop. It would match it to a foreman, a truck number, a construction project, and then it would print out the list of materials that need to be and are needed for tomorrow. So what happens is when the trucks come in between 2:30 and 3, the signal picks up their materials needs for tomorrow or even the next day. Between 3:30 and 5 o'clock, our storeroom employees are picking those materials and make them ready even before the employees come in the next day. So that, as you can see, is much, much better process, a bigger improvement, lots of cost savings and efficiency in our electric storeroom. And in addition to that, we've also have placed material requisition systems in departments of both engineering and also overhead construction. If they're working on sort of major long-term projects such as substation construction and things of that nature, they can requisition materials themselves. And also we have a kiosk where you see at the very bottom photo there, an employee can just walk in. If there's a material request, let's say the same day, if a construction worker is getting ready to go out, they get a phone call from their foreman. The foreman says, someone just took out a utility pole on Kingston Pike, and you have a job in that area, and I want you to go by and repair that pole before you go and to your other job. They can requisition materials right there on the spot, and again move on to complete your work. And again, this is a huge, huge advancement on our part to, again, make sure that our best customers, overhead construction crews, were able to get the materials when they need them and not have to worry about the wait time.